Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show till Mets do us part. John from Brooklyn, Ibby reps NJ. With the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? It's real fun. Just like Mookie, I will, son. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Till Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get to yapping.
What is up, everyone? Matt Ibanez here, a.k.a. Ibby, Til Mets Do Us Part, checking in with you live on a Wednesday, 5:30. Actually, not 5:30, 5:45 Eastern Standard. And as you can see, I'm flying solo this week. My partner, John Saponaro, my co-host, is a little bit busy today, has a lot going on in personal life. So personal matters obviously trump being here because, you got things to get done. It's important to get them done. So we're wishing him the best and making sure all goes well with things on his end. But he did tell me he was going to try to be here at some point. We'll see if it can happen. If not, no biggie. But if he does, I'll make sure to give him a grand entrance that he deserves if he does happen to find the time to pop in just to have a conversation, even for a little bit. So shout out to the 50 people that are here so far. And I'm sure that number is going to climb throughout as we continue to grow. We have over 1,200 followers, or I should say subscribers to this point on the channel. We appreciate and respect all of you as we continue to grow Til Mets Do Us Part on a weekly basis. So shout out to all of you that are here. I'll do individual shout outs in a moment. But as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to have a conversation, you want to be a part of the chat, you got to make sure you sub because subscribers are only the ones that are allowed to be a part of said chat. So if you want to hop in the conversation, get your comments heard, get everything that you want to get out when it comes to our New York Mets. As Mets fans have a lot to say when it comes to the offseason to this point, as we inch closer to individual workouts, to pitchers and catchers, and eventually spring training, then of course the start of the season. So I want to make sure I get into the chat real quick because, as you all know, when you're doing a show solo, it's a lot more difficult to get to everyone in the chat and starring things up. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that I get to all the good questions and making sure that I'm still making you all a part of the show because, again, can't do this without any of you. So shout out to Charlie, who's here. Shout out to Barman San Diego. We got Brad in the building. We got Armand in the building. We got Douglas Barnes in the building. We got Carlos Ramos. We got Paulie S. We have Jeff Cohen's in the house. Good to see everybody. Let's see, Chris Ram, our local therapist in the building, my man. Let's see, who else? Aaron Manning is here. Hopefully you're feeling better, brother. I know you've been sick, so hopefully you're feeling better. Good to have you back into the chat. Keith's in the building. Wait, hold on. We got Keith. I've got a big comment. I want to make sure I read it. I'm coming in hot with 3 things. Mets announcing the new jerseys on their horrible podcast. It is one of 2 jerseys. They're unveiling them on Saturday at Amazing Day. What time slot? Well, I'm assuming there's a big blank spot in that schedule right after Carlos Mendoza, about a 2-hour block. Maybe that's the part where they're going to be shelling out those new jerseys. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's the reasoning as to why I decided to rock the old school Keith Hernandez today. But shout out to you. Shout out to Crunch Mob Entertainment. So it's a cool name. Welcome. What's up, man? Good to see you if it's your first time. Awesome. Good to have you here. Yes, Keith, I did see a schedule posted. I can't remember who did. It's on Twitter. So I do know that a schedule was posted. And there's a lot of big names. Nimmo's going to be there. Lindor's going to be there. Soto's going to be there at 4 o'clock. Carlos Mendoza is going to be there. Jesse Winker's going to be there. So you're not getting gypped out in terms of people that are going to be there. They're all spread out throughout the day, obviously, because they want you to stay there as long as possible. but I did see it. I don't have it on me at the moment, but I do know that it is on X somewhere. Okay. But as always, shout out to everyone that is here and that is going to continue to be a part of today's discussion. 90 people here so far. Once again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to inch our way towards 1250, 1,250 subs. We're about 26 away. Maybe we can do that during this live. That'd be awesome. 26 subs away from our goal of 1250. And as always, we are always trying to get up to at least 50 likes on the stream before we call it a day. So hopefully we can hit those marks. I'll keep on reminding you throughout the show if you haven't, and those that are coming in and leaving and what have you. Hopefully we can hit those numbers. We're already at 17 likes with 31 people on the YouTube side, 100 total. So shout out to everyone over on X. If you want to head on over to the YouTube side, it is much appreciated. But as always, it's time to dive in to our New York Mets. And as always, have your comments, get them ready to go in the chat. I will do my best to try to navigate all of it because it's never that simple solo, but I shall do my best. That being said, a lot is being talked about when it comes to our New York Mets in terms of the, how they're handling the offseason, David Stearns, the money being spent, starting off hot, then it goes cold, then you're settling with these arms and blah, 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 blah. We've talked about it at length. And yes, we will still talk about the unsigned first baseman because we did get word that our team is going to pivot off of Pete Alonso, but still doesn't make that much sense because nobody else truly makes sense for Pete Alonso other than the New York Mets. But we're going to talk about the potential pivot. And frankly, as a spoiler, I am tired of talking about Pete Alonso. And I know a lot of you are as well. And I know that some of you want him to be back. And I don't blame you. I understand why you want him back. I understand homegrown Mets. I understand greatest power hitter that we've developed ever since Strawberry. I get all of that. I do. But it's getting to the point where I am sick and tired of the back and forth. I comped it the other day to like you're watching a TV show and it's the whole will they, won't they? Well, these two, like they have this chemistry. Are they going to get together and this and that? And they keep on teasing it. Like there's this back and forth, but then amongst the back and forth, they drop it. They forget about it. It goes on the back burner. It comes back. It's this, it's that. And then you get to the point where you're just like, I don't even want to watch the show anymore. Like I'm tired. I'm going to go do something else. And that's where I am when it comes to Pete Alonso and all this nonsense, because let's be honest, Mets fans, maybe you don't want to hear this, but this is worse than the Soto stuff. It is. Like the Soto stuff was annoying, but you knew there was going to be resolution because everyone was vying and eventually he had to say yes. But right now, no one is vying for Pete. Nobody. And he keeps on saying no. It is just annoying. And I know I have to talk about it, but I'm tired of talking about it. I want to try my best to talk about some other things today that make sense. But before I do that, before I do any of that, I want to make sure that I do put something out there because I'm not one to put my personal stuff out there because it's not really necessary or needed. But it's been a rough week in the household. Did lose somebody in the family. My wife did lose her grandmother. Great woman, fantastic woman, fighter, lost the battle, and always supported me, was always nice to me. I got to know her for the last decade. Supported the show, always asked me questions. Not a big baseball fan or method, but always curious. And it was always nice. And, I just wanted to take the time to dedicate this episode and give her her flowers because Carol was a very special person. And, just made me feel very welcome. And it's always tough when you start off in a relationship where, you're new and you're meeting family and things like that. She made me feel welcome right away. So I'm very thankful I got to know her for the last decade. And I'm very sad that she's no longer here. But I wanted to just take the time to say thank you for accepting me. And, rest in power, rest in peace, all those good things. I just wanted to put that out there because it felt proper, necessary part of the whole grieving process. So I wanted to put that out there because, like I said, supporter of me, supporter of the show, not a Mets fan, but, needed to be done regardless. So as always, rest in peace. But now that I got that out there, because I thought it was proper, this episode 177, dedicated to you, Carol. And I know you're watching. This might be the first episode you're watching, so I appreciate you. So I wanted to put that out there, so thank you so much. Now, to dive back into the conversation, and I appreciate all the condolences in the chat. I do. I wasn't trying to bring everybody down, but it's just something that I needed to say in case I'm not coming across as my whole, upbeat self like I usually am next to John. But I wanted to get that out there, so thank you to everybody with all the condolences in the chat. It is much appreciated. Thank you so much. Having said all that, we dive into the conversation of the offseason and what people have been saying about our New York Mets. And it comes back to David Stearns. And I know people have their thoughts on David Stearns and his process. And I listened to Shea and Sons last night. Shout out to Keith. Love his work. Was just on Uncomfortable Conversations, talking Pete and Vlad last week. Had a bunch of fun. It's crazy that some people just don't see the whole scope of everything. And I know, and I'm not talking about Keith in general. I'm just talking about like Mets fans in general, because they want to be frustrated. They're upset about Pete, and this will all tie together. But I want to give a quick shout out to Carson over at Mets Weekly, who also put out a tweet today talking about why he enjoys and why he respects and likes David Stearns. And it's something that I've been echoing on this show for the longest time, that for some reason it gets lost on people. And to sum up exactly what Carson was talking about, echoes back to what I said really on the first episode of this entire podcast. So 176 episodes ago, I said the same thing, where you have to understand that there is a process. You have to understand that it's about building. It's about getting the right players and getting the right people to be running the operation. Everyone thinks that it's just Cohen and money and getting guys. It's not. It's about being smart, getting the right guys. Constantly saying, getting the right guys next to Soto over the length of said contract. You cannot sit here and compare yourself to the Dodgers. There's no point. And I know you faced the Dodgers in the NLCS and you fell 2 games short of a World Series berth. I get all that. But I also said that if you thought that the Mets were going to come into this offseason and treat the 2024 finish as if they were going to make 2025 World Series or bust, I said you were going to be very disappointed, because that was never going to be the goal. And it shouldn't be the goal. I understand you want to make it to the World Series. I do too. God damn, I want to make it, man. Having the season that we had last year and wanting to actually ultimately finish. Yeah, of course I want that. But you got to have the right guys, the right players. You're building within a certain window now. And I know people don't want to hear that. You hate when I talk about patience. You hate when I talk about patience over panic. You hate all of it. And that's fine. But you have to look at this and understand what is going on. And I saw people ripping Carson when he was putting the comments that are similar to what I'm saying here, saying, "Oh, you're glazing Stearns. He's not going to sleep with you. Stop saying this. He's doing terrible. He's cheap," and all this nonsense. And it's the wrong way to look at it, because if that's the way you're going to look at it, then you're always going to be disappointed. You're never going to be happy, even though this team is actually on the right track for the first time in probably my lifetime, 36 years, 30 years being a fan that I can remember, So the fact that people don't see the good that's happening, or the fact that people want to look at an offseason where you acquired, in my opinion, the best hitter in the game, argue Shohei all you want, like I love Juan Soto, to think that you're going to badmouth or talk down an offseason that got you Juan Soto, like it's insanity. Okay. Your window starts now. This is where you start to build. And there's still a lot more talent out there There's still a lot that could be had. There are things that are going to fall into the Mets' lap, a la JD Martinez last year. That's the way a lot of these guys are trending because there's too much talent out there and there's too many spaces for the Mets that they still have to fill. So I'm not going to sit here and berate David Stearns because let's be honest. Let's be honest here, Mets fans. They have not lost out on anybody yet. They have not. And I said this in a tweet. And we'll talk about AJ Minter in a little bit. One of the latest signings of our Mets, which was desperately needed, a lefty out of the pen. Don't get lost in name value. Media every year pumps up a name, whether it's MLB free agency, NFL draft, stock, all this stuff. Names get pumped up. And then fans in turn think that if they don't get X name player, that they're settling for lesser than. Do I think Tanner Scott is probably a better pitcher than AJ Minter? Probably. Does the walk rate of Tanner Scott worry me? Sure. Would I rather spend, $22 million with an option for Minter as opposed to $70 million for Tanner Scott? I said as much last week when Chris Scopo was on the show with me and John. I said I'd rather put that money into a pen arm and a bat, which could very well be what's going to happen here. Don't get lost in names, especially in the bullpen, especially when we know David Stearns knows how to churn out a bullpen. The pen's looking a lot better at the start of this year as opposed to last year. So it's already a step in the right direction. People need to allow things to play out. And I know people don't like to hear it, but it's the truth. Okay? Now I'm just going to roll over into the chat, see what's going on, see what people are saying. Shout out to the 176 that are here. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Carlos coming in saying that he hopes that these fans hating on Stearns unjustifiably are ready to apologize once the roster is set. I'm going to try to stay quiet and just say that. We'll see what people end up saying. Stevie Mack coming in. Good to see you again, brother, in the chat. Literally just made the NLCS and lost against the World Series champs. That's a lot of progress in 1 year. Yeah. David Stearns has done more winning for this team than the previous 4 or 5 regimes put together. First season. In a transition. Yeah, exactly. Rosie, the goal is to be able to compete against the rest of the NL, not the Dodgers. It's a good point. The Dodgers are in a place where a lot of people are upset about and they want to be them, but you have to understand that it takes time to be what they are. That is a process. Dodger fans were not gifted this off the bat. Dodgers, once the McCourts were out and the Dodgers sold, they did the same exact thing the Mets did. They bought a bunch of guys. They tried to make it work, to put a product out there while building everything behind the scenes. Building an infrastructure takes time. It took Steve Cohen 4 years to finally get the guy to build said infrastructure. You got to wait. I know you don't like to hear it, but they are building something special. People will then say, "Oh, you're being too positive. You're blowing smoke." No, I'm not. I'm telling you what is happening. You don't like to hear it because you want to be angry. That's fine. I can't be angry about it anymore because there's too much going on in life in general. I can't allow this team to run me anymore, if we're being honest, in that sense. So I choose the route of, I see what's going on. This is what I've always wanted. So now I'm going to complain? I always wanted David Stearns. I always wanted a plan. I always wanted sustainability. Now I'm starting to get all of these things, and now I'm going to complain? No, that's not going to work. If you want to see toxic me, angry me, go back into my Twitter, go to the search bar, type in @MetsGM, and see my back and forths that I had with myself towards Sandy Alderson. Type in Jeff Wilpon. You'll see all the things that I said throughout the years about the Wilpons and the team in general. If you want that version of me, go ahead and search it. It's still there. Plenty of receipts. Okay? But not now. Not needed. Okay? This team is built to compete. This team is still projected to win 91.5 games through Vegas. Now, is that going to be enough for the NL East? We'll see. Braves were at 93.5, and I think the Phils were at 92.5. So it's going to be close. It's a lot of talent on the East. Nats are going to be tough. Marlins are going to stink. But the Nats are stepping in the right direction. young, a lot of good talent. Dylan Cruz, James Woods. They got some young pitchers coming up. CJ Abrams, Garcia. They got talent in Washington. They're on the come up. So the East is going to be tough. You're going to have to work for it. But again, this team is going in the right direction. And whether you like it or not, Pete Alonso removed from this lineup at the moment and replaced with Juan Soto. If you're going off last year, it's an 8-win player coming in and a 2-win player going out. 6 more wins. Put you in the 90s, which is why they're projected at where they are right now. Juan Soto does make a difference for teams. Juan Soto made the Yankees a non-playoff team to a World Series team. He's that good. It's getting lost on people. I want more too. I do. I don't make it seem like I don't want things. I want more too. But people need to understand that there's still plenty out there. And David Stearns has not lost as much as you think he's lost. Frankly, he hasn't really missed on anything yet, if we're being 100% honest. Again, unless you as a fan wanted the Snells, the Burns, the Max Frieds of the world, that was never going to happen. But if that's what you wanted, I understand why you're upset, but that in general was never going to happen. Okay. Scrolling through again. Anything new? Got Brooklyn coming in saying LA deferred will forever be remembered for the Ohtani deferral, the deferred Ohtani legacy. Don't hate the Dodgers. If you hate someone, if you think someone ruined baseball, you can blame Ohtani if you want for deferring $680 million, which is unheard of. Blame the other owners who won't spend. That's who you blame. Don't blame the Dodgers. They're taking advantage of a system that nobody wants to spend in. It's not the Dodgers' fault. You're not angry at them. You're angry at the league because they won't do anything. That's what you're pissed off about. Shout out to the 200 that are in the building right now. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me just check real quick if we got any new subs. Gain 2 more subs. Remember, we're trying to hit 1250 before the stream is up. So we're about 24 away. Can we get 24 new subs to get to 1250 for our goal? 26 likes so far, 42 on the YouTube side. Make sure you like the channel, sub it. Like the video, sub the channel. Goes a long way and helps with the algorithm and growing. Til Mets Do Us every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. I see some good stuff in here that I'm going to star off for our conversation in the second half. I see you, Domenico, when it comes to a potential trade. I'm going to star that one for now. Okay. Master Flip in the building. My man. My go-to guy when it comes to Vladimir Guerrero. My man. Putting those good vibes out there for Vladdy. Be careful. I know you're fighting with Monty Mania on Twitter. So be careful in those Twitter streets, my friend. Okay, but shout out to Master Flip. Make sure you're checking out all the boys over at Queens Baseball in the Twitter Spaces. Shout out to them. Love everything they do. Always in there. I'm always listening and appreciate the strong ball talk that they have on a consistent daily basis. Shout out Flip. Shout out Macho. Shout out to Pope. And, of course, shout out Keith and all the guys. Okay. Pantrese, my favorite over on Reddit. Pantrese saying it's a crazy take to most people, but I think Brett Beatty could really be good for us this year. He has finally had a full season down in AAA, which he skipped all of. He can spiral. He just can't spiral mentally during slumps. It's the big question. Is the talent there? Can he lift the ball? Can he handle velocity? It's a big ask, Pantrese. And I'm more of a Beatty guy as opposed to John, but I still think that Beatty's success might be coming elsewhere as opposed to here. But we will see what happens. Hope for the best. But I can't in good faith allow Brett Beatty to be in the opening day lineup. I just can't do it. Like if you tell me Beatty third, Vientos first, I couldn't do it. I think other avenues can be had, but for that right now, I wouldn't be able to do it. Shout out to everyone I see rolling to the chat still. 215 plus. Good to see everyone here. People not liking Pantreese's comment when it comes to Brett Beatty. I can see it in the comments already. They're rolling through. But as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Couple of signings did happen for our New York Mets since the last time we hit record, and that being AJ Minter, that being the likes of fan favorite Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker had his presser today, which was a lot of fun. We talked about how we wanted Jesse back. I talked about how I didn't think that Winker would be back because I thought somebody would give him a starting job, and I thought he would get at least 2 years from someone because he had a solid year last year. When you take all the numbers that he had throughout the season, not just when he was with the Mets, but just in general as a full season, I thought he had a big bounce back year from where he was when he was in Cincinnati. Then he kind of fell off when he was in Seattle, comes back, has a strong 1 year in Washington, does work for us as well, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs. I thought he would have landed a starting job somewhere, maybe with a team that was just looking for some outfield depth, whether that was like a Houston or a Pittsburgh or anything like that. But no one said in his presser wanted to be back, wanted to be here. You love to hear things like that. We talk all the time. Myself, John, Ant over at Subway to Shea. I see Keith in the comments. My brother. I love it. Good to see you, man. We always talk about, wanting guys that want to be here. You have to have guys that actually want to be here and succeed as a New York Met. I think Jesse Winker wants that. We saw the whole heel persona that he had as a Red when he was here. He ate it up and he loved it. And I've always been a Jesse Winker guy because I thought he could have been something, especially when he was in Cincinnati. Like I said, he fell off. I'm glad he came back. I'm glad he's a New York Met to see from heel to face. Talked about the fans. Talked about their energy. Citi Field, Mets fans are different when this team is good. The city has a charge to it that you don't see often. When the Mets are hot, it's the place to be. Jesse Winker felt that last year, wanted to be back, said as much. I want to be back. I want to be here. I had so much fun. We all did. Now he's back to fill a role, whether that's spelling Brendan Nimmo on left if need be, whether that is splitting DH when it comes to him and Marte, lefty righty, however they want to handle that potentially. And someone had the balls to ask. Somebody had the balls to ask Jesse Winker, hey, can you play first base? He said, hey, I'll play wherever they want me to play. They mentioned it to me last year. I said, I'll do it if they want me to. I'm not sitting here shaking my ass saying that I want to have Jesse Winker playing first base, but it's good to know that he's a team player. And he says, hey, I'll play wherever they want me to play. I'm just happy to be here. I think Jesse Winker provides a fire and an energy that is good for this team. I think it goes beyond the box score. I think it's a good type of player to have on a team that is trying to not only win ball games, but to have the type of grit players that you need to succeed as you try to go on the road of winning, not only deep into the season. We're talking August, September baseball. I'm talking October, November baseball as well. Okay. So shout out to Jesse Winker. Good to have him back. AJ Minter. I'm going to pull up some stats real quick because I know that people were upset. Some were. I'm not saying you were in the chat, but I know some people were upset when it came to the signing of AJ Minter. He's a former Brave. Braves let him go. He's not that good and this and blah, 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 blah. All this nonsense that you didn't want the guy because you wanted Tanner Scott. Okay. I'm just scrolling here trying to find some more info. It's a big shout out to my main man, Matthew Brownstein, who is always my go-to when it comes to stats because he's my guy. Still working to get him on the show. I've been trying for like the last year. Our schedules just never match up. But some stats real quick. Lowest second half ERA by a pitcher since 2022. Minimum of 60 appearances. Raciel Iglesias is at the top with a 1.35. Brian Abreu's on the list. Devin Williams on the list. Emmanuel Clase is on the list. Chris Martin, Tyler Horton, and AJ Minter. AJ Minter at a 1.35. .98. He's also excelled against righty bats. Since 2022, he has the third lowest ERA at 2.17, the third lowest WOBA at .260, the third highest K to walk percentage at 25.4%, the third lowest WHIP, a 1. AJ Minter is one of 11 pitchers since 2022 to post a sub-3 ERA with a K percentage over 30% and a minimum of 150 appearances. Once again, shout out to Matthew Brownstein for the fantastic stats. And shout out to the 300 plus that are now with us. Good to see you. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. AJ Minter is what this team has needed. We spoke 2 or 3 weeks ago now on this show about when's the last time this team had a dominant lefty reliever. And when we say dominant, we're talking like stuff-wise. We always talk about Aaron Loop and what he was able to do for this team. And, you know, he had a solid, crafty season for a lefty. But it wasn't like a dominant lefty in terms of stuff, in terms of velocity, things like that. We haven't had someone like that, if we're being honest, until, or I should say, since the man who got inducted into the Hall of Fame last night. Great person, well-deserved, Billy Wagner. Probably the last time they had a dominant lefty. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that AJ Minter is going to be Billy Wagner. That's all I'm saying. I know he's coming off of the injury. I know he's had the velocity dip since 2022, but his injury was to the hip. Hip injuries could lead to a dip in velocity. Clearly, the medicals were good enough for the Mets to say, we want you. We're going to give you 2 years with an option for $22 million. The medicals look clear to us. We think we can get you back to where you were. We want you on this team. And if David Stearns is willing to do that, to shell out $22 million to a reliever, I feel pretty good about it. I do, because David Stearns isn't paying big money for relief pitchers. We've constantly said that if he's going to spend money, it's going to be on position players. He dropped $22 million on a reliever. That tells me he's confident. Tells me he feels pretty good. Looking over into the chat. Want to give some shout outs, see what we got here. Carlos saying, I didn't think Winker didn't have suitors. I think he just wanted to come back, and Mets were waiting until Pete was resolved. He mentioned as much, Winker, saying in the presser, talking about how the free agent process is a bit of a slog, takes some time, ups and downs. But he did say he always wanted to be here, which is a good thing. I wanted him to be here, so I'm happy he ended up coming back and being here. Let's see what else we have. Dominico coming in saying how the Mets won in 86 with 4 position platoons. Just saying, hey, it's true. Game has changed. Game has changed, but you do like having a good amount of flexibility. Andrew coming in saying how when it comes to bullpens, unless they are the closer, I do not trust relievers to have multiple good seasons in a row. You know, it's always, we've always said it, bullpens are fickle, ups and downs. Just because someone was good last year doesn't mean they're going to be good the next. Not everybody is Mariano Rivera. We saw it as much with Edwin Diaz, dominant seasons in Seattle, comes here, struggles, becomes the all-world closer, gets paid, gets hurt, comes back, loses his job. All this stuff, comes back again, looks like he's discovering himself. Like, there's a lot that goes on with relievers. So, yeah, you can never pencil in automatically exactly what you think you're going to get from them. Rosie K coming in saying how the Minter signing doesn't bother me. If they add another arm, more concerned about the lineup. Right now, I'm looking at the pen, and I feel pretty good about it. We're talking Diaz. We're talking Minter. You assume Buto might be in there. Nunez is going to be in there. Reed Garrett's going to be in there. I feel pretty good about where the pen is to start, at least. Could you add someone else? Absolutely. But for the moment, I'm actually feeling pretty good when it comes to the bullpen. Pantry saying Raley pre-injury. Again, I think he was more of he's a soft tosser, in my opinion, in comparison to the likes of what Minter can provide when he's 100% healthy. But, Raley's been good for us too. And, obviously he's going to be on the shelf to start the season as a free agent. We'll see if somebody gives him a contract that he's willing to take, and eventually he can actually help somebody, come the midpoint of the season. I see your comment, Jose. I'm going to star that one about Profar for the second half of the show. Brad coming to say we need D-Rob. I would take D-Rob back. I know people are upset that the Dodgers got Kirby Yates as well. Yates would have been a nice fit, but there are guys out there that still make a lot of sense. D-Rob makes sense. Yates did make sense. I would love to have Ryan Stanek back. I loved Stanek. Hashtag Stanek stands. I want him back. I love the energy that he brought last year. The attitude, very FU, very much, here's my fastball, hit it, you're not going to touch it. Like, I liked what he brought. He's playoff tested. He has success. Last year was good for us. He's had success with the Stros. Like, I like Ryan Stanek. I would like to have him back. Hopefully we can see if that actually becomes a thing. Keith coming in, 27 likes. That's all I got, 27 likes, 31 likes. They listen to you, Keith. 53 on the YouTube side. Make sure, if you're watching, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to hit at least 50 likes before this stream is up. I'm checking the numbers. We got 23 subs away from 1250. We're trying to hit that before the live is up. So you guys are awesome. I appreciate all of you. And as always, as our numbers climb, we're going to do more giveaways and things of that nature. So hopefully we can hit those numbers and we can continue providing things for you guys for being so awesome. Okay. Take a look around as I'm just scrolling through. When it comes to Pete Alonso, and I'm going to use this as my final point before I go into the break. When it comes to Pete Alonso and the options and the whole idea of the pivot that Andy Martino put out into the atmosphere, people ran with it. Didn't make sense how he worded it, talking about how Winker and a reliever is a pivot off of Pete. It's more so a showing of we're going to spend money in other areas and better this team, and we're not going to sit here and wait for you and stifle the rest of our moves. Like, we're going to spend our money, and this is our offer. If you don't like it, so be it. We're going to keep on adding because we have to. And they do. There's still moves to be made. But this pivot, or this potential pivot, I'm at the point right now, and I said it before as much, I'm at the point right now where I'm fed up, man. I know Pete Alonso makes us better. I know he does. But I also understand the process and wanting what is best for this team. I want to bring up a comment real quick. I said I was going to say it for the second, but I'm going to do it now. Dominic was saying before, how about a trade for Arenado and Helsley? I would love to have either one of those. I would love to have Helsley, I should say. I'm not that big on Arenado. And the reason why I'm not big on Arenado is because I think his profile as a hitter is diminishing and going down. I understand why David Stearns would want it from a defensive perspective. You're building a staff that's built on ground balls. So you want strong defense at third base. Makes all the sense in the world. You slide Vientos over to first. You plug Arenado in, at least for the cheap money that it would cost, because the Cards are going to have to eat a decent portion just to get rid of them. They are, that makes sense from a defensive standpoint. But here's the thing. If you're talking about building out a team moving forward and people say that they want Pete Alonso instead, they're very similar. And why I'm not big on either, they're very similar because the people pushing for Pete right now are basing it off of what has gone on in the past and not looking towards the future. I love Pete Alonso. I got him right here, man. I love Pete. I got Pete stuff on my desk at work too. My girls have Pete Alonso shirts. Like, I like the polar bear. Like, I'm not sitting here like bad mouthing the guy, but I'm just talking about what's been happening. And if you're gonna talk about what he's done, it's like, thank you. But there's no market for the player. You don't just give money just because you want to. Like, this is like, no one's offering you anything. Like, why don't you like our money? You want to be stubborn and wait for more? Well, keep waiting, man. I said at the start of the offseason, this guy was going to be sitting here for a while. And I said he's looking deep into January. We're deep into January now, and he's still unemployed. And this is going to keep going. It is, because I think he's too prideful. I don't think he wants to give up ground. I think he's praying that somebody else comes in with an over-the-top offer that then forces the Mets' hand to try and up it to close a deal. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. And the thing also is, when you're doing and building a team and working within the window of Juan Soto, you're doing so in hopes that you have players next to him that are on the rise with him and helping him, not going down while he's going up that forces him to have to play hero ball. I'm not putting a slight at the Yankees or Aaron Judge, but you kind of saw a preview of that in the World Series and in the postseason in general, where Soto was the one doing all the heavy lifting because he wasn't getting any help. The Mets don't want to do that. The Mets want to make sure they have guys next to him that can do so. I still believe that, Francisco Lindor has at least 3 more prime years in him. I do believe that. Brandon Nimmo, at least 2 more years. Now, you're looking at that and saying, now we have to add more to this team moving forward next to Soto as he continues to climb and ascend before other guys that we have locked into long-term deals start going down. If you lock in Pete Alonso, you're lucky if you get, 2 years out of it. Smaller, makes the window smaller. They're trying to go this way. The profile of Arenado could end up being Pete Alonso's profile after this season. Let's put it this way. Everyone who keeps on saying that you want to compete with the Dodgers, does Pete Alonso alone make the Mets a better team than the Dodgers right now? You can fight. I root for my team, but Dodgers are still better. On paper, still got to play the games. Dodgers still better. Makes our lineup better, for sure. But at that moment, still not there just yet. But you're building. But the whole idea is Pete Alonso doesn't have what he thinks he has. Unless they're sitting on some offer that has been extra quiet, I don't think the guy has an offer from anyone that is more than what the Mets offered. Because as we always said, Pete Alonso's market is dictated by the Mets. If the Mets aren't bidding big, nobody's going to bid. Because he's a Met. And the Mets know that, which is why they let it get to this point. Because they know no one's going to pay this guy. And nobody has. He bet on himself. It didn't work out. And he's trying to recoup. And it's not working. And baseball has turned when it comes to first baseman, and baseball has turned in terms of I'm not going to pay you for what you've done. I'm going to pay you from what I think you're going to be moving forward. That's the truth. It's the harsh truth, but it's the truth. Would I take Pete Alonso back on my team? 100%. I'd love to have him in the lineup, and I think it'd be smart for him to jump back into this lineup so he can actually be what he is as a hitter. Just be a power hitter. Pressure's off. Juan Soto's in the lineup. Lindor is viewed as the captain. Vientos is ascending. The come up of Alvarez. There's other storylines. It's not just Pete anymore. Pete can then just be Pete. Focus on himself. Reestablish something. That's what he should do. For some reason, he's playing hardball. And I understand wanting to get more money. But man, you had your shot at money. You turned it down because you were upset that you did not get the offer that topped the Brandon Nimmo contract. It's the truth. It's 100% the truth. Check in the chat. See if anything new pops up that I want to bring up. McGee saying how it's not him, it's Boris. I think it's a little bit of both. But obviously Boris is a big determining factor. When you hire Scott Boris, we know what your intentions are. You put everything in his hands to get you paid. Understandably so. It's fine. Charlie saying that I put Arenado into an independent safe and never opening it again. I am not a big Arenado guy. And I forgot who put it in the chat. It might have been Rosie. Yes, there it is. Rosie coming here saying how Arenado would be a bad clubhouse guy. He's a prima donna. I've heard the same thing. I've read the same things, Rosie. So I'm not that big on Arenado. I don't think he would vibe properly. I have heard some negativity when it comes to him and him pushing the Cardinals to go older as opposed to letting the young kids play because he thought that it was bringing down the potential outlook for the team, which, makes sense in his demands now because he wants to be on a team that is ready-made to win. So he probably wants veteran presence as opposed to playing with a bunch of kids. But at the same time, shut your mouth, guy. I'm sorry, you're going to be an ass like that and shut down. The Cards got a good farm. They got some good kids coming up. But you stifled that growth because you wanted to bitch and moan and you wanted more vets on the team. So they got older and they signed the Lance Lynns of the world. I don't mind Lance Lynn, by the way, but no, I'm not trying to shout at him, but it's an older guy. Those innings could have went to somebody else. As we saw, the Cards didn't have that great of a year. So I'm not that big on Arenado. I still think I think he wants the Dodgers, but that's not going to happen. Or maybe it will, who knows? But I don't think it's going to happen to the Dodgers. Red Sox are dragging their feet when it comes to everything. So I'm not sure where Arenado is going to end up. But if it ended up on the Mets, would it shock me? No, because the defensive standpoint, it makes sense. But I don't want the bat, man. I get it, but I don't want it. Jose coming in saying that none of the position free agent players can fill Alonso's shoes. No way. And I think Pete will age well. Entitled to your opinion, Jose. I'm not sure how well Pete would age, which is why I think nobody's in the market to give him any more than 3 years. He's gotten 3 or less years from a lot of people because I think that they feel that a majority of the heavy lifting has already been done. It's unfortunate for Pete, which is why he should have jumped at that offer of 7 years when he got it. Edward coming in saying, I would like it a ton if Alonso came back because any way you look at it makes the team better. Any hard feelings from the negotiations will be washed away when he gets his money and starts playing. I don't think there'd be an issue or any booing or anything. The second he comes back, if he comes back, he's going to get cheered. He's going to be, he's part of the team. He's a Met. Again, this is what we root for, guys. This is what we root for. The front. This. We love players, but remember, players come and go. This stays forever. This emblem, this name. This is what we root for. Okay? Names come and go. We want to win, right? Get the right guys in here. Get the guys that want to be here. That's what you want. Checking in, making see if I see anything else. Rosie saying the Jays will offer Alonso a deal. Conflicting reports, people I don't believe about that in that sense, but we'll see what happens if they do and it gives him what he wants. Enjoy the Tim Hortons and adios, Pete, but we'll see what happens. Checking through. That being said, let's go into a quick break. We'll do a quick read afterwards for our friends over at Independent Safes. We'll take this 30-second ad spot for the audio side of the show. It's a 30-second ad break. Don't go anywhere. We got 460 plus people here right now. We're still trying to hit at least 1,250 subs. We're 23 away. We want to make sure we hit that point. We have about 59 on the YouTube side, only 34 likes so far. Let's make sure we hit 50, at least 50 likes, and we have 23 subs away from 1,250. Let's do our best to hit those mile markers. Back in 30 seconds. Matt Ibanez here, aka Ibby. Til Mets Do Us part. We're back in 30. And just like that, we're back. Matt Ibanez here, a.k.a. Ibby. Til Mets Do Us part. Checking in with you live on a Wednesday. It's about 6:30 right now. Shout out to the 460 people here in the room right now. Love and respect for each and every one of you. Shout out to the chat that has been rocking with me so far for near 50 minutes. Love and respect as always. A lot to talk about with our team. Second half is going to be more chat-driven. Second half is going to be a little bit more chat-driven. And 1 second, I just want to make sure that this doesn't turn off on me. Okay. Good stuff. Shout out to the chat that's been rocking with me. And the second half of the show is going to be more driven by you. I'm going to keep going into the chat and having conversations with each and every one of you to make sure that we get everything put out there and read throughout. But before we do that, we have to give a shout out to our friends over at Independent Safes. IndependentSafes.com. Independent Safes are protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes. Fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit IndependentSafes.com today for security that stands strong. And if there is one thing, shout out to Charlie who wants to put Arenado in the safe. And I can't fault him for that one. I can't. But I would love to put Pete Alonso discourse into an independent safe, lock it, throw it in the river. You know what? I want to put it in one independent safe. And then I want to get a bigger independent safe and put it into that one and then lock that and then put that into an even bigger one and then lock that and then throw it into the Atlantic. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do when it comes to all of this nonsense. And you can wake me up or try to find the key or try to find the safe at that point, you know, when all of this is finally decided. But it's clear as day to me that Pete's probably going into February without a team, which at this point is just pathetic. But neither here nor there is what it is. It's what happens when you're a Boris client. If you're not a superstar, it's what happens when you're a Boris client. Uh-oh. Home run hitters is back and did the chat. Mets won't win 65 games without Pete Alonso. You know, Pete, I'm going to call you Pete. Pete, if this is really you, I love you. I do. I want you back. I just think all this nonsense is just ridiculous. Just sign the contract, man. Like, no one else is there. You don't got to come on your burner here and tell me about how much the Mets are going to stink without you. Like, come on. Or badmouth someone like Vlad. Vlad will star as Fat Bastard in Austin Powers 4. I just shared an Austin Powers meme on my Instagram today because it's freezing over here in Jersey. I wake up and it's 6 degrees outside. It's freaking freezing, Mr. Bigglesworth. But home run hitters, relax, man. The Mets are going to win some games. Screenshot what I say. I'll remember you. Like, I won't forget you home run hitters. I'll remember what you said. Hey, Pete, that would give Alonso a WAR of 25. Nope. Yeah, his WAR was 2 this past year. Rough season. Anyway, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you. It's fantastic. Guys, if you're not following Lisa, the queen of Mets Twitter, in my opinion, took a break. She's back. Love that she's back. Very happy about that. Make sure you start following her on Twitter. If you're not following, make sure you follow her on Instagram as well. It's always fun watching the journey of Lisa especially during baseball season, where she's out there and constantly showing us the great time that she's having with our New York Mets. So shout out to you, Lisa. Always good to have you a part of the show. And home run hitters, I don't need to screenshot. I'm going to remember. Don't you worry. Okay. Unknown telling me I'm doing a good podcast. For everyone, if you ever see Unknown in here, it's actually one of my students, Omari. So there's your shout out, Omari, aka Unknown, one of my students. So I appreciate the support, my friend. Thank you for always checking in and telling me that I'm doing a good job. Anytime, Lisa. Anytime. One last one will appease home run hitters before we give them the boot. Pete Alonso carried your team to Game 6 of the NLCS after your owner demoted him to 7th in your lineup all year. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I appreciate Pete for the home run that he hit against the Brewers, but I think I'm done with you. I've had my fun. Jose Lopez, as we go back to the Stearns talk. The problem is that stingy Stearns. It's a good one. I'm used to Sleepy Stearns and Dumpster Dave, but Stingy Stearns is a new one. I like it. Never wanted Pete back, among other things. It's because he comes out and speaks what's on his mind. Does he? I don't know about that one. I'm not sure. Yeah, Boris, is that you? Oh my God, too funny. But there are other options, and I'm going to keep having fun with the chat as well. Nobody has, Churro, you're 100% right. Nobody has a brain anymore. Nobody thinks. That's what my opening rant about Stearns really was. Like, no one's really using common sense when it comes to all of this. They just want to have $30 million players at every position, and that's not how you win. It's not. And everyone sees what the Dodgers are doing. Like, yes, you can. It's like, it takes time to get to that point. Have the farm churning, constantly moving, ready to attack, and have all these things, trying to defend a championship, which no one's been able to do in 25 plus years of being a back-to-back champion or whatever it is. So again, takes time. Okay. Mets are working to that point. They're going to get there. Okay. I see a lot of things. I'm with you, Rosie. We're done with them. Let me just take care of this. And just like that, home run hitters is gone. So we're good. No reason for that one. I got you, Rosie. No issue there. Mike coming in saying, go get Vlad. Look, Vladimir Guerrero may be available if the Jays are smart and actually listening, which they should be. And if Master Flip was still here, he would agree with me. But the Jays are not going anywhere. I don't understand the Jays at all. They just signed Anthony Santander to a 5, potentially 6-year deal for a player of his caliber that makes sense, in my opinion, on a team that's ready to win. And to me, that is not the Blue Jays. And if that's a far cry of, crying out saying like, look, Vlad, we're going to support you and give you more, I don't know about that. I also think it's a little bit telling that, Bo Bichette and Dalton Varsho and others were the ones that tried to lure Roki Sasaki to Toronto and not Vladimir Guerrero. Speaks a little bit to me there as well. But again, when it comes to Vlad, would I trade for him? Yes, I would. Do I think it would cost much? No, I don't. They can say that they want a Juan Soto type package for him all they want. They're not going to get it because no one's going to give it to them for a first baseman, regardless of his age. And he's not Juan Soto. There's a difference here. Okay. A big difference in terms of hitter. And I'm a Vlad fan. I am. But he's not Juan Soto. And that was a special situation. How the Dodgers were, not the Dodgers, how the Padres were actually able to turn that much of a profit on a player with only 1 year left. The only reason they were able to do that is because it's Juan Soto. You saw the difference he makes in a team. Yanks won 77 games? Then they got Juan Soto, then they went to the World Series. Like, that's the difference. Okay? 8-win player, that's the difference. I know Vlad had a big year this past year. I think he had a WAR that was near 6, I should say, like high 6s. But I don't think that it would cost that much because I don't think anyone's giving up that much capital for 1 year. And if they're going to be stubborn and not deal him now, even though they should, because they would maximize their return right now. Everyone who says, oh, deadline, like if you're out of it, like you maximize the deadline. It's like, no, you don't. Your back's against the wall. You're lucky if you get a prospect or two at the deadline because they're going to say, this guy's clearly testing free agency. I don't know if I have the capital to keep him. So I'm going to empty my farm for 2 months. Not going to happen. Their window to deal him is now. And I think that the Jays are too dumb and stubborn to do it, especially now after signing Santander. Like, they're going to hold Vlad. And guess what? They're going to hold him, and they're going to end up settling for a qualifying offer. A qualifying offer pick. And that's it. Not going to cash in. That's my opinion. And that's not me saying he's going to the Mets yet. That's just me saying in general that I think he's gone. That's me. Okay? Carlos coming in saying how Ibby, do you remember when I kept saying last season that Burns was available via trade and nobody was buying it? The Orioles did, and they got him. Vladdy is available via trade. Anything for the right price can be had. I don't deny the fact that they might be wanting, 5+ players like Soto returned, but I'm telling you that you're not going to get the high end from anyone's system off of 1 year. You're just not. You're not going to. They were able to get Michael King and Drew Thorpe, who then they turned Drew Thorpe into Dylan Cease. Like, there are potentials here. Like, yeah, Jet Williams could be a potential. Nolan McLean could be a potential. I don't think they want to get rid of the pitching. They're not going to touch Sproat. I don't think they're trading Tong. I think they're apprehensive to deal McLean. Shout out to Nolan McLean, who was a top 100 prospect from Baseball America. Mets had 4 from Baseball America that released today. Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean, and Jesus Baez were inside the top 100. Jet Williams being the top one at 47, I believe. So shout out to those guys and respect to them. As David Stearns continues to try and create a system that continues to churn talent. I would love Vlad. I think Vlad is on the radar. I think he makes sense in terms of the window and what they want to do. It's resetting the clock in terms of production. Signing of Vlad in the offseason gives you back the prime years of Pete that you're not paying for now because you think he's past his potential prime and his power peak. That's what could end up being the play here. Now, I'm not saying it's smart to play for the next year, but there are options. Jurickson Profar makes a lot of sense for this team. I understand that, on paper, when you say, oh, I'm losing Pete Alonso for Jurickson Profar, you're like, oh my God, it's terrible. Profar had a solid year last year. I'm not saying that he can be what Pete is at the peak of potential within a lineup like this. I'm not saying that at all. Pete, when he's right, can hit 40 in this lineup. Do I think Jurickson Profar can hit 40 in this lineup? No, I don't. Is Jurickson Profar better first baseman than Pete? He is. Can Jurickson Profar play the outfield and spell Brandon Nimmo if needed? He can. Can Jurickson Profar hit 20 homers at City? He can. The expected home run rate via Savant tells us that. Am I saying that we should be settling or pushing for Jurickson Profar over a Pete? I think I would rather have Pete. But it seems like Pete doesn't want us. And people want to keep saying, Mets don't want Pete. Mets made offers. Pete keeps saying no. That's what it comes. Like, how many times can you be told no? Like, that's it, bro. Move on. Like they keep on telling you no. Then I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna leave. That's it. Wash my hands. I still think Pete's gonna crawl back. I do. It's gonna take him to swallow his pride a lot, which is why he's gonna keep sitting out there until someone potentially throws money. I don't think it's gonna happen. And if somebody does throw money, he's gonna go to them. He will. But the idea of him crawling back wouldn't shock me. Do I think Jurickson Profar could be a solid fit for this team? I do. I think he fits. It's a change in direction for the team potentially. They might go elsewhere. Like an idea, even though they say they're done with pitching. Like if you don't land Alonso, but you land Profar to play first/left, and you signed 1 year of Jack Flaherty, like, is that potentially something? Could be. Profar with another bullpen arm. Like, there are ways that this team can still improve. That they have to. Like, they have space to self to fill. They're not done. So things are going to get finished, whether it's via trade or signing someone. Like, something's going to happen. But I do think that Stearns looks at this and says that I have avenues, and he's not afraid to test it. He's not afraid of Boris. He has a slow heartbeat because when you have the money behind you in Cohen, you can afford to have the presence and mindset that Stearns has. Everybody wants Stearns to be Billy Epler and just spend his money. And we saw that that didn't work. Stearns is the opposite. Calculated, unlike Epler, focuses on depth, which you did not have at all with Epler, focuses on pen and churning out talent to find the right fits, which Epler did not do, and willing to admit fault and pivot off of something if it doesn't work, which he's done, unlike Epler. So people who are like, oh, Billy Epler would have had this, he would have signed this. Billy Epler ain't going to win, man. He's not. Epler comes in year one, does more. Hard truth, but the truth. Shout out to the 500 plus that are in the building. I respect you guys so much. I love you guys. I do. It means a lot. We got 49 people on the YouTube side, 39 likes. We are 11 likes away from our goal. We want to get at least 50 likes on the live. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like. It's really appreciated. Helps us in the algorithm. Still trying to gain more subs as well. We are about 21 subs away. 21 subs away from 1250. We're going to be wrapping up soon. So hopefully, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And when you do, you can hop on into the chat and join us. We'd really appreciate you guys joining us in there because I want to keep on interacting with more Mets fans. We love having a good time here on the show. 12:30, officially 20 subs away from our mark of 1250 as we march towards 1300. 20 subs away. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Okay, 10 likes away, by the way, on the video away from 50. So 10 likes away. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like. Okay, checking in on the chat, saying how Profar from Edward here. Profar played really well in San Diego, but not really anywhere else. I've said that before on the show, Edward, and that's why I think ultimately he does stay on the West Coast because remember, Jurickson Profar was the number one prospect in baseball for years. Okay, he was in Texas, and it never panned out, never worked. Okay, up and down, pressure just wasn't there. Leaves Texas, goes to Oakland. All right, goes out west, establishes himself, has a really good year in Oakland. Wow, Jurickson Profar finally back on the map. Older prospect at that point. Everyone's like, hey, he's becoming a journeyman, whatever. Then he goes to San Diego. Guy becomes a hitter in San Diego. All around good ball player. Can fit anybody. But I agree with you. I think he wants to stay in San Diego, but I wonder if all the turmoil that's going on with the family fighting over the asset that is the San Diego Padres, I wonder if that's going to stifle them from potentially re-signing him. I think he would like something that is of at least 2 to 3 years in the, he probably wants like 3 years for at least $50 million, something like that. Is he worth that? At the age that he is, I think he's in his early 30s. Potentially, but again, it depends on what the market says. Maybe he could be had for cheaper, but I still think he wants to stay out west. But I do think he could fit this team if he chose to come back east. But I do think that is a thought in someone's mind. You've had a lot of success on the West Coast. You want to stay out west. Okay. Brad saying that Profar isn't worth it. He's entitled to that. I get it. Edward also saying that he thinks AJ Minter was a great addition, but I would at least want one more good bullpen pitcher. I agree. I would like one more. Ryan Stanek coming back. Tim Hill from the Yanks coming over. I wouldn't mind that one either. There are, D-Rob coming back. There are guys that I think really fit this team and would welcome back or welcome in or welcome back with open arms. Let's see. Carlos saying that in his opinion, he thinks Vladdy in the same clubhouse with Lindor, Soto, and Mendy. He won't want to leave and will extend. Definitely a possibility. But I think at this point, I think that Vlad and his agent are of the mindset that Toronto didn't come close to the number that we put out there. And I think that that was a Toronto tax to say you got to overpay me to get me to actually extend and not hit free agency. But at this point, I think he's going to want to go out there, have a season wherever he's playing, and then hit free agency to see what he's like on the open market as a 27-year-old. He's going to be out there with Kyle Tucker, who's going to be 28, going on 29. And I think Kyle Tucker's a better ball player, my opinion. So I think Tucker's going to walk away with more money in comparison. But I still think that Vlad's going to want to hit the market to see what he could potentially walk away with in trying to reestablish the first base market, which nobody has been able to do truly since what? Pujols and Mickey Cabrera. Like, guys don't get paid that anymore. He's going to want 300 plus million, 400 plus million. Is his age going to be that? Will the weight factors come into play? I don't know. I'm very fascinated by Vladdy's free agency when it happens because I want to see what baseball does. They've been anti-first base forever. They've turned on the position. Are they going to open their wallets for Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? It's going to be a fascinating watch. It really is. Let's see. Where else are we? Just reading the chat, see if anything was here. Thank you, Aaron. Tell me I'm doing a great job solo. I appreciate you, brother. As always, I hope you're feeling better. Shout out to some of the new voices that I've seen here. Cindy, good to see you back in here. Oh, the Rhino. The Rhino is in the building. Andrew Acevedo, my friend from Mets Weekly over there with Carson and Frank. Think the Mets should sign Will Ospreay. We need more athleticism and more star power. 5 stars. Hey, I'll take Will Ospreay. Put Ospreay at second. No, put Ospreay in center. We'll put Ospreay in center. He'll run down everything. Do a backflip and catch a ball. At that rate, he's probably playing for the Savannah Bananas. But I would take Will Ospreay on this team in a heartbeat. Yeah, so I mean, I don't have much else, guys. It's always tough doing solos. But again, shout out to the 500 plus people that are here, almost 550. Okay, looks like we have. Oh, I didn't notice this feature before. We got about 223 people watching from my Twitter, 274 from the show handle Twitter, and we got about 46 here right now from the YouTube side. So again, shout out to all of you. Like and subscribe. Means the world. Would appreciate it. Just taking a look. 10 likes away still from 50. 20 subs away still from 1250. Doing a great job. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. But yeah, I still think that I hope that there's resolution when it comes to Alonso by next week. Not going to happen, but I can pray all I want. But let's change the subject real quick before we get out of here. Closing out an hour and 15. Shout out to former Met. Mentioned him earlier in the show. Shout out to Billy Wagner, who recorded his 300th save as a New York Met. Did a great job while he was here. I know people rag on him for 06, but he was a great Met. I enjoyed him while he was here. Fantastic career. Took him 10 years to finally get into the Hall of Fame. Deserved. Was able to meet him at the QBC, the Queens Baseball Convention last year, and 2023. And he was a gracious person. Great guy to talk ball with. I told him when I met him, like, it's a pleasure to meet you. Shook his hand, took a picture. And I said, your time is next year. Like, I want you to get, like, your time is coming. You're going to be in there. And I'm glad that he finally got in. And he deserved it. One of the better closers. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're a player that And again, he had a short stay here with the Mets. He had time in Atlanta, in Philly, in Houston. Like, he's bounced around. I don't know what hat he's going to wear. Probably Houston, I would think. Maybe no hat. Maybe no logo. It won't be a Met hat. But, he bounced around a lot. Guy broke his arm twice. Born righty. To be the height that he is, to pump 100, throwing with the opposite hand, the opposite arm, always fascinated me. Incredible career, incredible ball player. Very happy for him and his family. And, being able to call the Hall home. Shout out as well to Ichiro, who should have been a unanimous. The one person who didn't vote for him is a jackass. So whoever you are out there, stupid baseball writer, you should be ashamed. Ichiro should have been a unanimous selection. Falls one vote short. Still, Hall of Famer. And a big time ups to CC Sabathia. Going in as a Yank. We don't care for the Yanks. Don't talk Yanks. It's not a Yankee podcast. But CC was a bulldog. He was the man. He would go out there and provide for his team. He would protect his team. He was that dude. So when he was either in Cleveland, the run that he had in Milwaukee, the short time, and then eventually going to the Yanks, guy was a bulldog. Shout out to him and all that he did. I'm upset because I wanted to come on this show wearing my Beltran jersey because I thought he was going to get in. He was tracking at that. Before the final votes came in, he was tracking at like 80% when there was about 60% of the votes in. The back end 40 did not do him justice. He fell 5% short in his quest of making it to Cooperstown. But I think based off of next year's incoming class being very light on talent and career stats, I think that next year it's going to be two of the greatest center fielders of all time going in together. And that's going to be your storyline when Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones go in together in the Hall of Fame, representing, like I said, two of the greatest center fielders that we've ever been able to watch. And they both deserve it. They both had climbs in terms of their overall percentages. They both deserve to be there. And I think 2026 is going to be the year that both enter. Both deserve it. Carlos Beltran, I've said multiple times on this show, greatest free agent signing this team has ever had. And I can continue to say that until Juan Soto's career ends. We'll see how it all pans out. But Carlos Beltran, greatest signing based off of what he's provided for this team while wearing the jersey. We will see Juan Soto in the coming 15 years. But I think that those two will get their chance and should start prepping their speeches for Cooperstown for 2026. But once again, shout out to Billy Wagner, former Met, CC Sabathia, and Ichiro Suzuki for making it into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Going to the chat real quick. Looking at what we got. Nothing too crazy. Ichiro should have been unanimous. Agreed. Beltran will make it next year. He will. Carlos Beltran is a Hall of Famer without question. He is, my friend. Carlos Beltran is a Hall of Famer. And yes, Charlie, coming in. David Wright gets enough to stay on the ballot. People want to vote for Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins. David Wright survives and stays on the ballot, which makes me very happy. You saw others get a climb in votes too. Andy Pettit got a surge in votes. I know Chase Utley did as well. Bobby Abreu got a surge in votes as well. So some guys getting their due in terms of remaining on the ballot, deservedly so. But shout out to David Wright for surviving what sometimes, good ball players and great ball players tend to fall off quickly because they think they're not worth it. Like, nobody voted for Curtis Granderson. I love Grandy. Grandy had a good career. I didn't think he would fall off that quick. But either way, we're an hour 20 in. I'm going to get out of here because I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. And like I said, I think an hour 20 from what we've talked about and the lack of action that's been going on with our New York Mets outside of the two signings that we talked about in the first half of the show, that being Jesse Winker and AJ Minter. Nothing new has broke right? Usually my man Armand would let me know if something was breaking. But we have nothing to this point. Hopefully we can get some news on our Mets by the time we hit record next week on the show. Unfortunately, John was not able to be here this week. Hopefully everything goes well with all that he is dealing with. Like I said earlier in the show, this show in general, this episode 177, was a dedication episode to my wife's grandmother who had passed this past weekend. Always a supporter, always cared, sending all the love. And like I said, a dedication episode overall for her. Thank you to everyone who always gives me love. Tell me that they enjoy when I do these things solo. Never easy, and I wish I could do a better job of managing the chat and having conversations while staying on point with the bullet points that I have on my sheet over here. But thank you for everything. 550 plus people. We had some growth throughout the show. I appreciate all of it. I know we were going up against some other shows as well. So hopefully, we continue to grow. We continue to have fun every Wednesday. I love the fact that you guys are being a lot more, interactive, and we're getting new voices heard in here, which is fantastic. I love it. And I appreciate all of you. I really do. I know I say it a lot, but it's the truth. And I love that I get to hang out with you guys every Wednesday and just talk ball and have a good time. So once again, thank you so much to everybody. Means the world. Didn't hit our numbers like I wanted to this week. That's okay. That's all right. I'm sure that we'll have a climb once this posts to YouTube in general. But other than that, everyone that was here, you all rock. I hope we get some news for our Mets. We can talk and break it down all next week as we continue to get closer to individual workouts, to pitchers and catchers, and of course, to spring training, and then eventually opening day. That being said, I'm out. It's been fun. Hour and 22. We talked some good stuff today. I got some stuff off my chest that needed to get off. I appreciate all of you. And as always, let's go Mets.